Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this. All right, perfect. 76-63 Yukon picks off Gonzaga in the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, which is effectively a road game for Yukon, although the crowd did not show out the way that I expected it to show out on a Friday night for Gonzaga in the state of Washington. It was a straightforward performance, I think, Goodman, for Yukon here. I mean, look, we talked about it before we pressed record on this. It felt like Yukon did not get out of third gear throughout this entire game, and they still found a way to win by 13 points on the other side of the country against a team that is currently sitting in the top 10.
Scary, terrifying if you're watching Yukon because, as you said, like they went to Donovan Clingan early, and I was like, man, he might get 40 tonight because he was getting deep post position. They were feeding him the ball. It almost looked like a concerted effort tonight to finally get the big guy the ball because he was healthy or healthier. And then they kind of took control, and then it was Cam Spencer who made some big threes. They went into halftime with a pretty generous lead, and there was never really any game pressure on them the whole game. So they didn't need Tristan Newton to have to do much. They didn't need Stephen Castle to have to do too much. Like, honestly, I think, Rob, this game said way more about Gonzaga than it did about Yukon, to be honest. I mean, it says a lot about Yukon that they played their C game and they're able to win on the road like they did against a top 20 team. Because I think that's what Gonzaga is at the end of the day, a top 20-ish team. They're not deep. They don't have a star. Their backcourt's okay. Nembhard's good, but Hickman's just okay. Gray-Mike couldn't do anything tonight. This is the most underwhelming Gonzaga team we've seen in a long time. And I think finally the loss of Tommy Lloyd has caught up with Gonzaga a little bit, recruiting-wise, because I don't think they have the talent that they had year after year.
Yeah, and I do think it's fair to mention that they don't have Steel Venters, which more or less takes away any kind of depth that they have on the perimeter. Like the way that it works right now is you have Ryan Nembhard and you have Nolan Hickman, and those two dudes got to play 40 minutes because everybody else on this roster is a front court player. And as soon as somebody on the
played
perimeter,
40 and 39, by the way, just so you know, 40 and 39 minutes.
I mean, they have to play those guys all those minutes. And if you go back and look at what they've done throughout the season, they got to play them those minutes. They don't have any other backcourt players on the roster. And I mean, look, Ryan Nembhard's a good player. He's not someone that you want to necessarily rely on to have to try to get you 20 every night. Like that's not the best way to make him be effective. Gray-Mike is a good player, but he's never going to be effective going up against the likes of a Zach Edey or a Donovan Clingan because he's 6'9" and he scores with his back to the basket. And to me, the biggest thing is just like there's no lineup versatility, right? Their best lineup, the one that has Anton Watson at the 4, the only way that they can bring subs in, it's Braden Huff and Ben Gregg off the bench, and both of those dudes are 6'11", right? So you're moving your best player out of his best position, Anton Watson. You move him from the 4 to the 3, and that's a hard way to win basketball games. So I feel like Gonzaga right now is a guard short of what they need to be. Like if they still had Hunter Salas right now, and I'm not saying that Hunter Salas is like necessarily the best player on the planet, but if they had a dude that could get them 15 minutes off the bench that was capable of averaging like 7 or 8 points, I think that changes what this team can be because Nolan Hickman could play a little bit of point, right? You put those two guys together in the backcourt and you can get by with 2 to 3 minute stretches 2 to 3 times during a game. So I think they're just a guard short.
Have a guy, Rob, you just don't have a guy that anybody fears. Like ultimately, that's what it comes down to, right? You don't have a guy on this team that you're like, holy crap, we got a game plan for him. Ryan Nembhard was a great player at Creighton when he was he had dudes around him. He had a lot around him. There's just not enough around him here, so he's got to do too much, as you said. Now, again, in the WCC this year, listen, they could run away with it. I don't think they will. I actually think I feel better about my Gales, my St. Mary's Gales now after watching Gonzaga tonight, to be honest, because I think they could still get the automatic bid and win the WCC. I think it's that wide open.
Yeah, and Josh Jefferson got it going a little bit for St. Mary, so I think that he'll be fine there. And you always got to keep an eye on Santa Clara because Santa Clara just who's going to be the first round pick that they have come out of nowhere this year. It was Brandon Pudzinski last year. It was Jalen Williams the year before that. So there's a lottery pick somewhere in there, Goodman. We just don't know who it is yet. We're going to find someone off that Santa Clara roster that's a lottery pick. No, I mean, look,
Hey,
I
do you
100%.
see? Do you see? Wait. Do you see this as kind of the start of the end for Gonzaga and Mark Few, to where like this is the end of the era of like Gonzaga being in the mix for a Final Four every year, for an elite team every year, and going back to like, hey, they may be able to catch fire in a year, but they're not going to be there every year now.
I don't know if I'm ready to say that at this point. I do think that, and you made this point last year multiple times, right? I think you made it when we were in Las Vegas for the Sweet 16 before UConn played Gonzaga there in the Elite Eight. That there's just not the level of NBA talent that we've seen before. There's no Nigel Williams-Goss, and there's no Brandon Clark, and there's no you don't have that same. You don't have a Jalen Suggs. You don't have a Chet Holmgren. You don't have that same level of dude. And if you go and look at what Arizona has right now, they're getting Caleb Love out of the portal, and that's the guy that Gonzaga used to get. Right? They are getting Kylan Boswell to reclassify and enroll there. That's what Gonzaga used to get. They are getting the players. Kashad Johnson is basically Brandon Clark from 2018. Right? Or 2019. What was Brandon? Whatever he was. Whenever Brandon, you guys know who I'm talking about. Whenever Brandon Clark was there, that's basically what Kashad Johnson is. So I'm not ready to say that yet because Mark Few at the end of the day is a Hall of Famer, right? And he's not there yet, but he should be there. So I'm not ready to say that yet. But
by the way, it's crazy that he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. No,
it is.
Am I wrong?
I mean, no, he should be there, and he's going to get there. That just seems like one of those ones where it's like we're just kind of waiting for the right time. They only want to add 1 year, whatever it is. No, I think you're right. Can we flip this and pivot to UConn here real quick? Because I do want to just ask you, like, when they are able to get Clingan going, and he had his best game of the year tonight. He had 21 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, a pair of blocks. He was 8-11 from the floor. Most importantly, he was 5-7 from the free throw line. And he looked, Jeff, like he was finally moving well. To me, that's been what they were missing was that offensive threat. Yes, getting Steph Castle healthy matters because you're adding someone that can be an elite defender. You're adding someone that is your best point of attack defensive weapon, and you're adding another guy that can break people down offensively and create something out of isolation, which, I mean, Gonzaga is the third straight power conference opponent that tried to switch everything against UConn and take them out of what they wanted to run. Did not work that well because they don't have as many good defenders. But to me, it's getting Clingan to the point where he is playing like the All-American we projected him to be.
They just have their pieces fit together. When Hurley and his staff were putting this team together, you can tell it's like, all right, we're not going to duplicate too much, even personality-wise a little bit, right? Like Cam Spencer's kind of that alpha dog that they needed a little bit because that's not Clingan. Certainly that's not going to be Castle. Caravan's got some of that in him. But I think, again, Cam Spencer just brought another shooter who can do more than just shoot. He's not one-dimensional like a lot of people thought he was at Rutgers and at Loyola Maryland. But again, Castle's athletic, big, strong, can guard at a high level, right? Can get to the basket, can get downhill. Solo ball's kind of a, more athletic, but he can really shoot the ball, comes off the bench. DR is great because he's got a gear, right? And he guards. He gets after it and really gets up in guys. I like, again, how everybody serves a different purpose on this UConn roster. Everybody. Yeah, I love that. I hate teams where they're like duplicating pieces or, like, I'm going to see one tomorrow a little bit. Indiana. They don't have enough shooting. Obviously, that's the key thing, right? UConn. Even though they
not if you ask Mike Woodson, don't you dare bring that up in front of Mike Woodson. If you say anything about shooting to Mike Woodson, he's going to jump you, man. You better be careful. Don't go in
Well,
that press conference. He's going to be
I
looking
won't
for
be
you.
here. I would ask him, but I'm not going to be here for the post game press conference because I got to leave right away to get to that Purdue Arizona game in Indy because the Colts start at 4:15 too. So the traffic in Indy is going to be horrendous.
Yeah. So what I will say is this: on paper, I think that this Gonzaga team is not a great matchup for UConn. And what I mean by that is they have a guy at the 4 spot that can go out and make things happen against Alex Caravan. If there's a weakness with this UConn team, it's guarding 4s. If you look at all the power conference teams that they've played, the 4-man is the one that goes off. They have a point guard that is able to get to the basket, get to the lane, and create. The other issue that this UConn team has is perimeter defense against teams that have guys that can beat you off the dribble, right? And Gonzaga is a top 10 team with 2 guys that star in the position that you can kind of take advantage of this UConn team. And UConn held them to 39% shooting from the floor. UConn forced 11 turnovers. They held them to 2 for 12 shooting from the 3-point line. And they were up by double figures for basically the entire second half. Gonzaga scored the first bucket of the second half to cut an 11-point lead to 9. UConn immediately answered with a basket of their own. Gonzaga never got to single digits after that. Now, some of that is they missed some open looks, but some of that was UConn hit 7 threes in the first half, threw it in cruise control, and there was nothing that Gonzaga can do. You said earlier that UConn played their C game. I'd push back on that a little bit because I think that they were really effective defensively, but
all right, so B- game. I'll give them like a
yeah.
B- game. All I'm saying is it was not.
They never got out of third. No, but you're right that they never got out of third, like second or third gear. Like it just there was a stretch in the second half where it just felt like UConn was out there because they wanted to be out there, right? They weren't really running their offense well. I think they had like 4 straight turnovers on possessions. They were just kind of throwing things away, and it never felt like UConn threw it. Like they never. They never had that finishing. Well, what was it in? Remember Mortal Kombat? You might be too old for this, Goodman, but in Mortal Kombat, they used to have the thing that would come up that would say like "finish him," and that popped up for UConn, but they were never able to like finish him. They just kind of let Gonzaga sit there, and there was nothing they could do. I made this comparison for Purdue when they were playing against Xavier. It just kind of felt like UConn was the big brother that was holding their arm out like this, trying to play football against their little brother and just not letting him get the ball. That's kind of what it felt like throughout this game. And Gonzaga is a team that has a good point guard, a good 4-man, a Hall of Fame head coach, and was ranked top 10 in the country playing in their state on the other side of the country from where UConn was. Like I try to.
I wonder if they were surprised, Rob. I wonder if UConn was almost surprised how easy this one was. And again, like they play with ferocity. You know, again, I think they did the right thing, getting Clingan. I would be doing that every game. If he can get deep post position like that, which he should be able to do most nights, go get him the ball early because to me that gets his confidence up, that gets him into the game offensively, and then again everything else is going to come, right? You got a double on him. Good luck to you.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field 68 content.